You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily represent those of the network, its advertisers, owners, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynne, a writer, entrepreneur, and change maker, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. You just heard a great original composition by my son, Asher Schreiber. This podcast highlights some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet on this podcast. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. Well, I'd like to welcome Anni Keane-Riley to the Make Meaning podcast. Anni is director of the Nobody Ages Out youth movement at You Gotta Believe in New York. Welcome to Make Meaning, Anni.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so inspired by the work you do. And I read about you in the New York Times and just knew that we had to have a conversation. So I wanted to know a little bit about what does it mean to be director of the Nobody Ages Out youth movement? Tell me about that movement and what your role is within it.
Sure. So my colleague, Yadi Dania Betancourt, was in the New York Times talking about the work that You Gotta Believe does. Mm-hmm. So You Gotta Believe is an older teen adoption agency. So we find youth that's in care between the ages of 10 to 21 years old forever families. And the average age of youth that we work with is about 18, 19 years old.
Wow. So
in addition to doing that, we also educate youth in care, prospective and current foster and adoptive parents, in addition to everybody in the child welfare about the importance of older youth having families.
So you work with kids in New York, right?
Yes.
And I know because I've done a lot of public relations work for Michigan's largest private provider of foster care, Samaritas, that the older the child, the harder it is to find a placement for them. Is that what you're finding as well?
Yes.
So, and of course, I just have a real heart for children. I feel like I would take them all in if I could fit them in my house. Because, nobody asks to be born, but once they are, I believe that they deserve everything. They need every chance just to be loved and to have opportunities. And so when you don't have that in those foundational years, it can just be heartbreaking and it can really, cause a lot of roadblocks, basically. So, tell me what you guys do to try to find that forever family for older kids.
The first thing we talk to the youth first. The first thing we do is we talk to the youth. A lot of youth that we work with, because they are older, they don't believe that it's possible for them to have families. Mm-hmm. And the system is built on protecting them, providing for them, making sure that, they go to court, making sure their doctor's appointments are filled out, making sure they go to school.
Sure.
But in the midst of doing all of these things, I think people lose focus on the primary goal is to make sure that if the child is not returned to his or her home or family, we need to then find them a family, right?
Sure.
So it's an addition to, not a replacement of.
Sure.
So one of the things that we do is let the youth know that it's possible for them, regardless of their age, to find a forever family. Mm-hmm. And once they start once we start having that conversation, I ask them, what does the word when I say family, what does that mean to you? Mm-hmm. Right? Because usually when I'm talking to youth about family, sometimes it's negative, right? Mm-hmm. So when I bring up the word family, sometimes it represents negativity. Mm-hmm. People that left me, people that abandoned me, people that abused me, right? Sure. And sometimes family means people that trust me or people that didn't know how to take care of me.
Sure.
So when You Gotta Believe goes and talks to youth about the importance of families, we want to make sure we have the same understanding.
Sure.
And if family is something negative to a youth, then I ask, do you have any positive relationships in your life? And what makes them positive? And why do you value those relationships so much?
Mm-hmm.
And so I take whatever it is that they say, and I let them know that that's what I'm looking for. More people like that in your life.
Absolutely. So, it's interesting because I don't know that most people consider how they could help a teen or a youth in need. I don't think it's on somebody's radar unless it's on their radar, if you know what I mean. If you have kids of your own and you have your job and whatever you're doing, everybody gets sort of really focused in their own lives. And unless you're exposed to the idea that there are children out there who really need love and support and mentorship, it wouldn't even occur to you. You know what I mean? And so I'm sort of wondering what you think it would take to put that on more people's radar. I know there's always a shortage of foster parents. And then for older teens, people might assume, oh, they're 18, 19, they're adults. They don't need support, but it couldn't be further from the truth. So how do we get people to be aware of that and even consider that they could have a role there?
So that's a really great question. So I honestly believe that if there's anywhere there's a venue to do recruitment, anywhere that will give us about 10 to 15 minutes to talk about the importance of forever families, we are there.
Sure.
So talking to churches, going in the community, if there's a festival, having a table out there that says, you got to believe, we're finding forever families for teenagers, come and learn about it.
Sure.
Is really important. So in festivals, in your community, the community support groups, there's so many clubs in the community. Mm-hmm. Just going and calling and saying, hey, can we have 15 minutes of your time so we can just tell you what it is that we do? Can we leave our cards and can we leave our flyers after we make the presentation is really key.
Yeah.
Also, and taking advantage of like social media, being on this radio. I hope, somebody listens and say, wow, like I didn't know that, older youth and care, want or need families. Maybe they will call in and to get some information.
I hope so.
You got to believe we always encourage people to call and get information. And then we hold classes, which is the parent preparation classes. They can come in and learn about it.
Okay.
They're not obligated to finish or to get certified at all.
Sure. So what about, first of all, this is a great opportunity just to sort of offer the phone number during the interview or a website. Do you want to just give that information so any listener could jot it down or take action?
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about You Gotta Believe, you can go to our website, which is yougottobelieve.org, or you can give us a call at the office at 718-372-3003. The number again is 718-372-3003.
Awesome.
And the most unique thing about You Gotta Believe is that majority of the staff are experienced foster adoptive parents of older youth in care or foster care alum.
Yeah, so that's a great transition because I was going to ask you about that. The information that we gathered before this interview, you shared that you yourself were in foster care. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that experience and how that motivated you to get to this position?
Sure. So I entered into foster care for the second time when I was 17 years old,
Wow.
Due to abuse and neglect. And when I was in foster care, I was slated to do independent living because I was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So independent living, when that's your goal, they have life preparation courses, right? Independent living classes, which is held 45 minutes once a week. And it has anything from how to cook to how to write a resume and how to do your bank account.
So wait, let me understand this. 45 minutes once a week, is that right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I think I need more than that even now.
To learn independent living skills. And even at 17, when I was going to the workshops and I just said, I'm not there yet.
Right.
Like I don't even know what I want to do with my life yet. And you're telling me how to budget. So they were telling me how to budget, but I didn't have a job yet. So I'm like, you're telling me how to budget. Can you tell me how to get a job? So the social worker, said, since you know so much, why don't you run the group? And I said, I just might. So then we walked up to the director. I had a conversation about like how I really felt about it, because I'm like so passionate. And I said, it's not only me, it's my peers.
Right.
I'm seeing them downstairs. They don't want to come in because we're not helping them. Like, what can we do right now to help them where they're at right now?
Sure.
Is it going to school? Is it getting an education? So that's when I started at 17, creating workshops for my peers about, life skills.
Wow.
And the life skills for me was about how to get emotionally ready for an interview. What kind of jobs can you get?
Wow.
All the things that I believe that if I was in a family, I would know. Those are the things that I was advocating for us to teach in those independent living classes.
You're amazing.
So I started that at 17.
That's amazing. You were an entrepreneur at 17, just taking the bull by the horns. That's amazing.
Yes, and a trailblazer.
Yes.
So I went to college. I went to college, and they gave me an internship.
Okay.
And I wasn't satisfied with the internship. So I asked the professor, how do I get my own internship? How do I, so they told me the process, and I did everything. So I started to intern for ACS.
Okay.
And then after I started to intern for ACS, then I met Pat O'Brien at the ACS Speakers Bureau.
So wait, tell us what ACS is.
So ACS is Administration for Children's Services in New York, New York City. Okay. And they held a speakers bureau where they had, child welfare professionals, youth foster care alum, and foster and adopted parents talking to everybody about the importance of being unconditionally committed to youth in care. Okay. So after I met him there, he told me about his program about You Gotta Believe. I fell in love with it. He also reached out to my mom, Mary Keane, and, she was on the board and everything. And he, Pat said, we need a youth voice. Would you like to be on a board? And I said, absolutely. So the next semester, when I had to do an internship, I advocated to be an intern at You Gotta Believe. And that's when my journey with You Gotta Believe started. That's amazing. It's like you were destined to be there. That's really cool. So you said that you really admire your mom. Tell us a little bit about that, about what you admire about her and how she's been sort of a role model for you. So I was a tough young lady. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I was going to go and do it. But I was like very serious. I was very intense. I was not trustful of people. So I was like walking around like I'm going to get it done, like just mad, upset, and angry and not trustful. So when I met Mary, she was my foster mother. Okay. And it was hard for me to connect to her because she was only going to be there for a little while until I get my own apartment. Sure. So I didn't want to connect to her. So it took 8 months for me to even have our first conversation. It took 8 months. Oh, my goodness. I was living in her home, right? Yeah. Imagine. Yeah. I was going in the house. I was saying hi and I was saying bye, and that was it for 8 months. Wow. And every single day she asked me how I was doing. Every single day, how are you doing? And I would say, fine, I would go to my room every single day. And it was just her being consistent, because usually in my life, my experience has been 2 weeks, no more than a month, and I was at the next person's house. Right. No more than a month, and I went, because people would complain, she's not connecting. Yeah. She's not opening up. Yes. She's not communicating with me. She doesn't want to be here, so I would then have to move. Wow. So I was tired of getting hurt. By 17, I was tired of getting hurt. Some said, you're only going to be here for 2 weeks or a month. Right. And then I'm going to be moving on. Sure. But every single time she asked me how I was doing, I would say, fine. 8 months later, I said, wow, you're still here. She's still here. And she made it very clear to me that she was committed to me. She was unconditionally committed to me from the first day she met me. That's amazing. And that was brand new. Yeah. Because people talk about family. Yeah. People talk about it. You don't know how many times I hear, this is your home. You can make up your room. You don't have to go anywhere. Yep. In 17 years. Wow. So she showed me what being unconditional really means. Yeah. And she's still showing me to this day. And because I have that unconditional commitment, I was able to establish friendships. at 17 for the first time.
Oh, what a gift. What a gift. It's really, something that we take for granted unless we don't know that it's there. And that's just such a beautiful, beautiful result. So kudos to Mary and to you for sticking it out and transforming each other, because I'm sure you did the same for her, So tell me, on this podcast, we're talking about how we make meaning in our work and in our lives, and it's so evident how you make meaning in so many different ways. Do you have advice for people if they're searching for their purpose, or they're looking for that idea of meaning in their work or what they're doing at home? Any ideas for people?
Yes, I have a lot of ideas. So I'm going to sit and you let me know if I'm talking too much.
Not at all. I love it.
The first thing is really check in with yourself, right? For me, I was always doing what other people wanted me to do. And I lost track of, who I was. So I needed to stop and say, what makes me happy?
Sure.
What is going to fulfill my life? What is going to drive me? What is going to motivate me? What is that? And regardless of whatever that answer is, I needed to strive for that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, checking in with yourself, being honest with yourself, and making plans accordingly to achieve your goals.
That's awesome.
Is the first thing.
Okay. What else?
The next thing is don't be afraid. My mother gave me a book, and it's called Fear It and Do It Anyway.
Okay. I love it. That's a great mantra. I'm going to take it. I love that.
Right?
Fear it and do it anyway. Awesome.
Fear it and do it anyway. And she used to tell me that because, growing up, moving around to different places, being in foster care, being in and out of foster care and things like that. I didn't have a stable education. I didn't go through school like everybody, like a lot of people go through school. Like people usually go to 1 or 2 elementary schools, maybe 1 junior high school, or maybe 1 or 2 high schools.
Sure.
But I went to 3 elementary schools. I went to 3 junior high schools, and I went to 6 high schools before I graduated.
Oh my goodness.
So I was reading way below grade level.
Sure.
So, for me to get a 75, I needed to study 3 or 4 hours every night to prepare, to get ready.
Wow.
And people didn't know that. And even when I was in school, in college, I was struggling because I was like, I'm going to be a success. I'm not going to be a statistic. Because when I was in foster care, 3% of the foster youth that went to college, less than 1% graduated.
Wow.
And I said, I'm going to be that 1% by any means necessary. And I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. And I was afraid about what people would think about me if they knew that I wasn't reading and writing on my level. So my mother helped me get into a reading and writing course. And when I started, I was writing on a 2nd grade level and reading on a 4th grade level.
Wow.
And by the time I finished, I was writing on a 9th grade level and reading on a 12th grade level.
Amazing.
And then my college grades improved.
It sounds like you're saying
it and did it.
It sounds like you're saying that people really don't know your story. And so when you meet somebody, you don't assume or don't expect the worst, but really take the time to get to know what's behind the face, really get to know that person and understand their journey. Yeah.
Right.
We're running out of time, and I could talk to you all day, but I just wonder if there's any last thoughts you might have about, for our listeners, about how people can, find meaning in their daily lives, how they can help others, maybe even welcome in a teen who needs that love.
The last thing is that once you find satisfaction within yourself, that's just how you should be a better person.
Yep.
And when you are a better person, you share that betterness with other people and make their lives better.
That's awesome.
So the first thing is checking in with yourself, being honest and true to yourself. Then the second thing is fear it and do it anyway. And then 3, give back. Give back all the wealth of information and the best you that you can to this world.
Absolutely. It's amazing to chat with you, Anni Keane-Riley. I'm so grateful that you took the time to chat with me on the Make Meaning podcast. So I just want to remind our listeners that we've been talking with Anni Keane-Riley, who's director of the Nobody Ages Out Youth Movement, and that you supervise case managers at You Gotta Believe in New York. And they can learn more about helping older children or adopting them, welcoming them into their family at yougottabelieve.org. So thanks for being here, Anni. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.